Every 4 years, billions of people stop what they're doing to watch strangers run, jump, and throw things. They paint their faces, they scream at screens, some of them cry. Over a game, we call it sport. We treat it like entertainment. But sport is one of the oldest human behaviors on record. Older than writing, older than money, older than most religions. And the reason we still do it 50,000 years later has almost nothing to do with fun. It has everything to do with survival. Go back far enough and the line between sport and training for war completely disappears. Hunter-gatherer groups didn't have gyms or practice fields. They had the hunt. And the hunt demanded everything. Speed, endurance, aim, the ability to read terrain and work as a team. The men and women who were best at those things kept the group alive. The ones who weren't didn't. So groups started practicing. They ran. They wrestled. They threw spears at targets, not for trophies, for survival. The oldest known cave paintings in the world, some dating back over 15,000 years in France and Spain, show human figures running and hunting in coordinated groups. They look remarkably like athletes. But here's where it gets interesting. At some point, the practice became the point. The competition itself became something worth doing, even when there was no hunt at the end of it. And that shift from training to sport is one of the most human things that has ever happened. The oldest clear evidence of organized sport comes from ancient Sumer, modern-day Iraq, around 3000 BCE. Carvings and tablets show wrestlers in holds that are almost identical to techniques used today. Same grips, same stances. 5,000 years apart. Ancient Egypt took it further. By 2000 BCE, they had organized competitions in swimming, rowing, archery, and gymnastics. There are tomb paintings showing athletes competing in front of what appears to be a crowd. Not soldiers, spectators. People watching other people compete. For no reason except to watch. The human need to witness competition is that old, but no civilization took sport as seriously as ancient Greece. In 776 BCE, in a small valley called Olympia, something happened that had never happened before in recorded history. Rival city-states, kingdoms that were frequently at war with each other, agreed to stop fighting, not for a peace treaty, not for a trade deal, for a sports competition. The Olympic truce, called the Ekateria, required all Greek states to suspend hostilities during the games. Athletes and spectators could travel safely across enemy territory. Wars paused. Executions were postponed. For a few weeks every 4 years, sport replaced war. The Greeks believed sport was sacred. The Olympics were held in honor of Zeus. To win was to be touched by the gods. The olive wreath given to champions had no monetary value whatsoever, but it was considered the highest honor a human could receive. More valuable than gold, more valuable than land. Because it meant the gods had chosen you. And then Rome changed everything. The Romans loved spectacle more than competition. They didn't just want to watch athletes, they wanted drama, blood, stakes, life and death. At its peak, the Colosseum in Rome held 80,000 people, larger than most modern NFL stadiums, and it was full. Every time. Gladiatorial combat wasn't random violence. It was a highly organized sport with rules, rankings, and fan bases. Popular gladiators had sponsors. They had groupies. Their names were carved into walls like modern athletes. Some of them became so famous they were given their freedom. The crowd had that power, to spare a life or end it with a gesture. Sport had become the most powerful political tool in the ancient world. Keep the crowd entertained, and you could control an empire. The Emperor Augustus understood this perfectly. He said, "Give the people bread and circuses, and they will never revolt." 2,000 years later, we're still living inside that formula. After Rome fell, organized sport largely disappeared from Europe for centuries. The church considered public games immoral and wasteful, but it never disappeared entirely. In England, early versions of football were played between entire villages. Sometimes hundreds of players on each side. No set boundaries, no time limit. Games that lasted all day and left people injured. In Japan, sumo wrestling was a sacred ritual performed at Shinto shrines. In Mesoamerica, the Mayans and Aztecs played a ball game called ulama that had been played continuously for over 3,000 years. The losing team was sometimes sacrificed, or the winning team. Historians still debate which. Either way, the stakes were different back then. The modern era of sport began in 19th century Britain. As the Industrial Revolution packed people into cities, the ruling class became worried about what idle workers would do with their free time. Their solution: organized sport, football, cricket, rugby, all codified, given written rules and promoted as a way to build discipline, teamwork, and moral character. Sport was rebranded as a tool for civilization. The British Empire exported it everywhere: cricket to India, football to South America, rugby to South Africa. In 1896, the modern Olympic Games were revived in Athens, a deliberate echo of the ancient Greeks with the same idea at its core, that competition could unite people who had no other reason to cooperate. Today, sport is a $500 billion global industry. The Super Bowl is watched by over 100 million people in a single country alone. The FIFA World Cup draws a global audience larger than any other event in human history. Athletes are among the most recognized humans on the planet, more famous than most politicians, more trusted than most institutions. But strip all of that away. Strip away the money, the stadiums, the TV deals, and the sponsorships, and what's left is the same thing that was always there. Two people, or two teams, agreeing to compete under a shared set of rules. Pushing themselves to the edge of what a human body can do. And thousands of strangers watching, holding their breath, completely invested in the outcome. We've been doing this for at least 15,000 years. Probably much longer, and in all that time, the feeling in the crowd has never changed. That moment when everything is on the line. When one side wins and the other doesn't. When an ordinary human does something that shouldn't be possible. We built cities and empires and the internet, and we still stop everything to watch.